control freak. Oh, yeah. Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the Nintendo Enthusiast Podcast. Tonight we're going to cover a little bit about Nintendo on E3, the recent spike in Wii U sales on Amazon.com, EA backtracking on its unprecedented unpartnership with Nintendo, and then, of course, the whole shebang about the X-Bone. Joining me today for the discussion is Matt Costello, Mattavelli once again. Say hello, Matt.
Hello, hello.
And Alejandro Valderas, our rogue Mexican, yelling
Hola,
at nature.
Hola. Buenas noches.
Good day, y'all.
Good day, good day.
Okay,
It's good to be here. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, we're all super excited to talk about the new Xbox, but unfortunately, news gets in the way.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, it's definitely been a interesting. I don't know. I guess you'd almost call it a week. It's been an interesting week on Skype with everybody, and it's definitely been an interesting week on the forums with everybody, and definitely glad to all the listeners out there. We've had life going on this week. We haven't been able to get to the podcast, so thank goodness we're being able to do this tonight and get as much news out there to y'all as we can and voice our opinions to you guys.
I mean, the delay's been pretty good as well because we've actually been able to sit back and watch the information roll in for the Xbox One.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I am still confused, man. Give me 2 weeks, give me 3 weeks, give me 2 months, and I'll still be confused about this whole thing, or angry, or frustrated. But
I don't know if it will take that long because E3 is not that far away.
Oh man, well, it would be nice if E3 clears some questions, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, I agree with you on that because I honestly do believe that E3 will be more about. I think that they're gonna try to say, "Hey, let's smooth things over, gamers, and let's just show you all these games that we have, and all will be forgotten." But anyways, we'll get into that later on.
Yeah. So the first story for today is Nintendo. Well, the E3 floor plan for the show was revealed, and Nintendo has the usual massive floor presence that it always has. Despite everyone being up in arms about Nintendo pulling out of the conferences, as you are. But what this probably will mean is, and Nintendo said this themselves, that they were going to announce a buttload of their games in their direct. They're going to have a little bit of I think developer or publisher friendly bit of news speak about their sales forecasts and whatnot in a separate one, and then they were just going to have a whole ton of hands-on availability for their software.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the only thing we are not seeing this year is the keynote speech that they usually do. But other than that, it's really going to be the same because the press is going to get their own keynote speech as well as on-hands time with games, which I think is better for the press.
So what you're saying in the keynote speech, so they're not gonna get up there and talk about sales, is what you're talking about? Like they're just gonna pretty much their whole E3 is gonna be about games?
No, what I'm saying is that you're not gonna log into G4 or to what's the other Spike TV. You're not gonna see the show on those the way you're gonna see Sony's and Microsoft's. You're gonna see it on Nintendo's own website, which is gonna be a typical Nintendo Direct, the way we've seen these past 2 years or year and a half.
Oh.
But the press will still get their own specific closed doors keynote. Not the press, I'm sorry, the retailers like GameStop, Walmart, etc. They're going to get their own presentation, and then separate from that, the press is gonna get their own presentation on the floor with on-hands games. They're gonna be able to play the new Mario, for example. I think this is good because people say, "Oh, you need to advertise to CNN because they are the ones that are getting the word out to the public." Yeah, they are. CNN is going to play the new Mario. Actually, they're not gonna have to wait in line, etc., etc. They are going to be there playing Mario Kart, whatever. They're gonna play all of these things, and they're gonna be able to report on them better, in my opinion, than they used to. And for us gamers, we're just gonna get to see all of that in Nintendo Direct, the way we've seen all this information on Monster Hunter, Pikmin, whatever, you know.
Why am I confused by that? Like, why did that make me confused? Like, so what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they have separate
just
plans.
let me explain myself just for 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
So, we're gonna have E3, and it starts. When is it? Do y'all know the date? June 12th.
The 11th.
Okay, June 11th. So they're gonna have Sony and Microsoft. We're gonna see them the same way that we have on TV. You know what I'm saying? The past however many years. But Nintendo's isn't going to be on TV. Like their E3 is still going to be the very last show, as it always is, but it's not going to be on TV.
Yeah, something like that. It's not going to be on TV, but I think we're actually getting it before the other conferences. We're getting them on the 11th. We're getting the Nintendo Direct. I believe at the same time that the press is going to be able to play the games, and at the same time that the retailers like GameStop and Walmart are going to be able to get whatever information they get out of Nintendo. That's how I believe they are working.
But they're still going to be at E3.
Yes. Yeah, and they still have all the space they always had. Everything is the same, except they're not going to give that huge presentation for everyone on TV. Instead, they're going to give a separate presentation for Walmart, another one for CNN or IGN, and another one for us through Nintendo Direct.
Okay, all right. I obviously didn't know that's how it was going to work. I don't know. What do you think about that, Cubits?
I think it's pretty good because if you look at the standard old school Nintendo conferences, they'd come out on stage, someone would talk about sales figures, and there'd be pie charts and things for 10 minutes. And then they shuffle him out of the way. They say, okay, we've done our retailer obligation. Now we'll wheel out, Reggie or Miyamoto or something, and we'll start talking about games. So what they've done this time is they've gone, okay, we'll cut off that boring bit about retail and shove that in a room with some retailers. We'll save the press speak for the press and stick them in this other room. And then everyone in the world, no matter where you are, can log into Nintendo.com or whatever, or look on your Wii U or your 3DS or whatever, and watch a Nintendo Direct, which just talks about the games, the hardware, whatever you want, and it still contains all of the antics that the Super Luigi U one where they all popped in around Iwata and stuff. Like they're still into the antics, so it'll still be fun.
Yes.
Okay, so why? Okay, so this is okay. So they still got all the floor space. Basically, this floor space is just like Alex said, is to show the games to the press and everything like that. They're not going to be doing an actual show though from E3, or am I confused about that?
They won't. They're not doing a show for the public from E3. Not on the floor at E3, but they will be there.
They're not going to have the Kodak Center. We're just going to be, it's going to be Iwata and Reggie and Miyamoto in a white room, and it's going to be like the same type of format as a Direct, even though they still have all that space on the E3 floor. It's all going to just used for gaming.
Just
for us, yes. For Nintendo fans, yes. For retailers, they will go to that same Kodiak stage, or it's not Kodiak, is it? Whatever it is.
Kodak. I think it's Kodak.
Okay, so they are gonna get it's gonna be right there as well. I think that one's gonna be for retailers. and it's
Okay,
going to
so
be
they're
closed.
gonna have a
So it's not
show.
going to
It's
be,
just gonna be like closed.
yeah, it's going to be closed. It's not going to be broadcasted. The
Okay, okay,
broadcast will be Nintendo Direct, a separate
okay,
one. And then a third one will be to Walmart and GameStop, specifically on the show floor, where they actually have the game booths and all of this stuff,
okay.
and the booth babes as well, which is
I
important.
wonder. I wonder if these Nintendo Directs, just because it is around E3, I wonder if they're gonna be like really long, or if they'll just be the same size, like an hour long or whatever.
Well, they're holding. I mean, they're not going to run another Wii U Nintendo Direct until the 11th, I think. So, and that one's going to contain like Mario Kart footage, information and footage of Mario Wii U. Apparently, the producer, the wife of the producer of X, is super excited about E3. So we're probably going to see more of that as well. It's going to be a pretty big Direct.
Okay, so another thing, if we're all waiting for, I guess this is the part that I'm a little confused about. Okay, I get everything that we've talked about so far. When can I expect to see Retro's game, and when can I expect to see Smash Brothers? Will that happen on the 11th?
Yep.
Yes,
Okay, okay.
exactly during the Nintendo Direct. And I want to elaborate on this because I think it's just as awesome as it's always been. I mean, if you're a fan of our website and you show up to the Nintendo Enthusiast chat, or either on the front page or the one hidden in the back, you know that every time there's a Nintendo Direct, a bunch of us show up. There's like many
Yeah.
of us in the chat, and we're live. We're live there as the thing is happening. We are chatting, we are joking about it, we are hating, for example, on how Dead Space 3 had co-op. All of these things.
Mm.
Even like really the enthusiasm it creates is, I think it's comparable as long as you are involved in it. I do think there is a difference, and I agree that we are losing a little bit of something because, I mean, just look up the video when they revealed
Mhm.
The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on
Right.
E3
That crowd.
2004. Yeah, you
They
are
was
losing that.
crying and
Yes.
they went crazy.
It's like an opera show, and we are
Yeah.
losing that. We, we're. I suppose it's like the difference between a real conversation between two people in the same house as conversation between people here on Skype, for example. It's like you're
Yeah.
getting it, but maybe you're missing a few nuances. All the same, I think it's still gonna be great, and it actually allows them to give us more content.
Well, and that's a good point, and I'm glad that you brought that up. Just because, I mean, and let's just take the chat on Nintendo Enthusiast for example. It's almost like you are sitting in the crowd. You're still
Mm.
getting that. You know what I'm saying? You're still getting that vibe. As, oh my God, did you just see Retro's new game? Now you might not see me crying, but you know what I'm saying. You do get
That's
that
exactly right.
reaction of people sitting around you.
That is exactly right. No, and people learn to make up for it, to be honest. Like, if you're crying, you're going to be saying stuff like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can't believe I just saw this. I am
Right.
crying right now. You're going to be posting images or whatever it is, how you express yourself. And it works out. I think it works out okay. And in the end, I think it works out better for both Nintendo and us.
Which
Regardless of if we lose something, we gain something.
Which it's tough on say like qubits because, I mean, whenever the last Nintendo Direct happened, I know that I was at work, which I was doing the chat on my phone, just trying to get y'all's reactions. But my God, it was like at American time or Central time. It's
Mm-hmm.
like at 11 a.m. I mean, that's like
Yeah,
somewhere around, you know what I'm saying, like either midnight to 3 a.m. for qubits. So he's not up, he's not in the chat, and that kind of sucks. So I
it's going
wonder
to be.
how like they're gonna work that.
No, they don't work that. They just do it
It just
automatically.
Yeah.
is. Yeah.
This time it's gonna be 7 a.m. Pacific, so that's 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, obviously.
Right.
I think that ends up being about 3 p.m. UK, just around that time.
Let me see. 7
And
a.m. Pacific is like
7 a.m.
1:30 here. Oh,
Yeah.
no, 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock
Yeah.
a.m.
I knew it
1
would
o'clock
be. I
a.m.
knew it would be like very, very early in the morning for y'all because Ethan was actually talking about it. And
Yes,
that's the only reason why I know that is because
he's
Ethan
a
was talking
busy guy.
about. He was asking. Yeah, he was asking whenever the Nintendo Direct was, and we told him our time, and he said, "Crap, that's like 12 to 1 a.m. My time in Australia."
Hmm.
So that's how I knew that. So I'm sitting here thinking about the E3 events, and obviously Cubits is a big part of the community. You know what I'm saying? You want everybody there, but it does kind of suck like that, though.
Let me
Oh,
tell you though, the person suffering is not gonna be Qubits. It's gonna be his boss.
because I'm not missing that shit.
Cubit said, "I will be sick. I already know I'm going to be sick that day."
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and also the other little thing, neat thing that Nintendo's done is after you've watched the your Nintendo Direct thingy and you're hyped up, you can then waddle your way down to Best Buy and have a go.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember here. I'm hoping that it comes just because I mean I'm only 25 minutes away from my nearest Best Buy, and it's actually in a big city. Even though I talk like I'm very rural, and for the most part I live very rural, I do actually live next to a very very big city. So
Hmm.
I'm hoping that it actually comes to our city. I don't know what I expect whenever they say something like that. I expect just in the U.S., say Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, obviously. Then if I was in Australia, I'd expect like Sydney, and then just places like that. So I'm hoping that maybe somehow or another we do get that at our Best Buy. I'm not a big kiosk guy, but I actually really like this idea because it does make you feel like you're a part of E3 if you're a really big fan.
Yeah.
Let me bring up an impromptu topic. You guys remember when we saw, for example, I think this is something I remember when I first saw Metroid Prime 2 Echoes on Walmart, and it was playable, and you got to play the first part of the game, which was like the first 15 minutes. About, my God, we are going to see that again with another retro game. Think about that.
If they could
We're
have
gonna go
that
to
playable
Best
in
Buy.
Best Buys.
Yeah, we're
uh,
gonna get to be able to play Retro's game, possibly, because you never know with Nintendo, but possibly you can play Retro's next game on the Wii U for about 15 minutes
I
on
would
Best Buy.
rush to do it. I'm not lying. If it and I'm just gonna throw this out there. If it is another Metroid Prime, I will literally rush to my Best Buy just to man. I mean, just to try that.
I don't even care what it is. Well, I
Well,
mean, as
that's
long
true.
as it's not a Donkey Kong, you know.
Man,
There's
I
no.
know, man, that Donkey Kong was tight.
I
It
know,
was
but
really tight. They were the
they've been
best
working on
people to
something for
do it.
3 years.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
They
I
better
mean,
be
the
the
way I
best
see
damn
it,
Donkey Kong.
it's like yeah, Donkey Kong was amazing. I'm not saying that it wasn't. I loved it, but I just wish they did something like
You
Metroid
just wish it
Prime.
was Metroid. I
Yeah,
do too. I do too. What are you
it's
hoping
like
for, Q? I mean, do you hope it's a Metroid, or what do you hope that they're working on?
Oh, it's got to be Metroid.
Oh,
It's got to
man,
be.
if it is, dude.
strategy. Oh, I'm really divided on that, but I mean, I don't know if we're talking about it in this podcast because it's a long topic for me.
Yeah,
I mean, I wish it was. I mean, it'd be good if it was, but I
Mm.
wish it was something bigger.
Star Fox. They could do Star Fox.
No, shut up.
They could make it. They could make it good.
Shut up. Don't go there. They cannot make it good. It's only gonna limit them. I've always had this opinion that if Nintendo shoves a bad franchise onto a really good studio like Retro, it's just not. I mean, I'm not saying Star Fox is a bad franchise. I'm just saying that it has its limits. You know, they're not gonna take these furry characters and be like, oh, we're gonna craft an immensely emotional experience out of them. They can't do that. They were, they couldn't even do that out of Metroid. So no, dude, my opinion is that they should get something original. Just give them the rights to do something original and let them go at it. Hell, revive the Star Tropics franchise. That's good with me because they can just do it from scratch, do whatever they want, put as much story, as much gameplay, whatever they want to do with it. I say do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if they got given their own franchise, like if they said like make up a new IP if you want. What have you been working on in the back room? I mean that'd be pretty cool. But I think we would have seen it already.
Yeah.
If that's what they were doing. I think the reason they held it back from last E3 was because it was a Megaton, which it's either like the best Metroid ever made, or it's I don't even know what else it could be.
Let me
What
ask
if they
you
are
this.
working with Team Ninja? Oh my
No,
god.
no, no, no. Don't say that. Think about this. What if they are making a complex 2D spiritual successor to Super Metroid?
I don't know about
And I'm
2D.
talking about like a monster. I'm talking about, you know how big Super Metroid's world is.
Yeah.
What if they're
Yeah.
making one that's 2 times bigger than that?
But see, like Super Metroid already happened, so I want them to do it in 3D now. And it's like they already did, sort of, with Metroid
Myself
Prime.
personally, yeah, I think that the Metroid 1, actually, I feel like the Metroid trilogy really does Super Metroid justice.
I mean, I think it's like only a notch below, you know.
Yeah, and
But
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that it is Super Metroid. I'm just saying that it does it justice. I'm not saying that it
I agree
blows
with.
it
I think it
away
does.
or it's
I think
on
it does
par
the
with it.
franchise. Yeah,
I agree with you.
It does Metroid justice. Yeah.
Yes, it does. And so, what if they are actually making a spiritual successor to, and it's 2D? I mean, what type of beautiful world would we be looking at? Or, crap, man, I don't even want to get into this. Like, I mean,
No.
God, man, retro, dude. I mean, literally. I mean, think about it. Retro is at least rare or better, and you just could not wait to get a rare game. We're obviously in that stage now where we're just thirsting for the next retro game, and it's unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? Everything that they do, and even Donkey Kong Country, people moaned about it and stuff. It was an excellent game.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now it might not have been Metroid Prime, and it wasn't, but it was still an excellent game that you really
was.
enjoyed to play. So, they are literally are rare where you're just like, oh my God, just give me something. And to think about what they did with Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2 Echoes and then Metroid 3 Corruption, you're just like, man, if I could just get in that world again.
Let me ask something. Is our next podcast going to be before E3 or after E3? Because that defines what we can talk about in this podcast. If it's gonna be right before it, oh man, we're gonna go so wild on that one.
Yeah, I think we did get delayed a week because of all sorts of things. So I was feeling we might be able to punch one out in the next couple of days and get that out before E3, just so we can cover the other stuff.
That's not bad. Yeah, I'm down with that.
Oh yeah, and I think we have to get it out before E3, so that it has its good impact.
So it can breathe. Yeah.
Obviously, it's already having. I mean, I feel like you should be able to feel the tension in our voice. Like, oh my God, what is going on here?
We are holding ourselves back so much right now. Like, we just want to go at it. We just want to speculate and be huge fanboys, but we can't because we have limited
there's
time.
something to talk about.
There's more important.
We are live. Because we are live on radio.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. So next up.
Yes.
Okay. Next up, Amazon recently saw a bump in sales. I don't know who reported it as 875%. As far as I could tell, it was just a figment of someone's imagination. But what's important is that this might not be a backlash against Microsoft so much as it is people have just gone, okay, now I've seen what the PS4 is, I've seen what the Xbox is, and now I can make a sound judgment as to which way to go.
Yes. You're saying that there were a lot of people who they said, no, you know what, I'm going to hold on to my to my Benjamins, and I'm gonna say I'm gonna wait until I see what everybody has to offer before I commit to a console. And that's what happened. A lot of people saw finally what the Xbox was about, and they said, you know what, I'm still a Nintendo guy.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you on that, and there may be, and I could be wrong about this, but there may be a lot of people that plan on carrying over what happened this generation to the next generation, as to where they're going to have two consoles. So maybe they were on the fence with PlayStation until they saw the Xbox, and and vice versa with the Wii U too. But they saw what the Xbox had to offer, and they said, well, the PlayStation and the Xbox are going to kind of be comparable. I'm just going to go with the PlayStation and the Wii U. Maybe that's what happened as well.
Yeah, that's quite relevant because the Xbox was revealed to have like near identical hardware to the PlayStation. They've just like bent like their little fluffy features a slightly different way.
Right.
Just to clarify, the Xbox has less memory, doesn't it? Well,
Yes.
it has DDR3 memory, whereas the
Yeah.
PlayStation 4 has DDR5, right?
But the DDR, they use it different ways because the DDR5 has great bandwidth but not so great latency, and the DDR3 is the opposite of that. But they also stuck a big pile of EDRAM on the APU,
Right.
which is exactly what the Wii U has, by the way. So the architecture difference between like the Wii U and the Xbox is not that great.
And we'll get into the technicals, later on here in the podcast. Obviously, Cubits has it broke down and stuff like that. Now, let me ask you this. Whenever it comes to the Amazon sales, and it was, and I'm just throwing it out because I don't remember the exact number, 851%. Is that like times one? So does that mean it only sold like 851 consoles, or is
no?
Or does nobody
explain.
really know what this percentage actually means?
I think I can explain that. 875, the percent that they get it by dividing the difference in rank. So the game went from I forget, it's like
384 to 48 or something, right?
388 to 48, and so they get the difference, which is like 340 or something, 330 or whatever, and they divide it by the new high rank, which is 48, and that gives you 8.75. That's the 875%. This doesn't mean anything because you don't actually know the sales. I mean, it's a fairly useless number. All you know is that it increased really, and that it's one of the highest increasing sales, but you don't know the actual numbers. So really, it could have gone from 1 to 8 sales.
Right, that's what I was about to say. So literally, they could have said, Wii U sales rose 10%, and that would have been news.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been real. Yeah.
I don't know who reported it. I hope it wasn't ourselves. I don't think so. I think we got it from someone else. But whoever did really just saw the number and said, "Oh, hey, this number is impressive." So
they made up some fake maths for that. I mean, that doesn't mean anything. That the way they've come to that conclusion.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think anything was fake. I think it's all just, this is the number, so I'm gonna report it. But that doesn't mean you are interpreting it in any meaningful way.
No.
And see, anything to me, and this might be like totally old school, but like anything to me that's over 100% doesn't mean anything. Like, because I don't think that you can literally have. I know that you can have stuff over 100%, but like 100% is like I've always heard everybody say, "Why do you say you give 110%?" Because there's actually no such thing. Once you get to 100%, that's it.
No, it's mathematics. I mean, it's got its thing. I mean, what it means literally is that it could have been selling one Wii U on daily, and then the next day it sold 8.75 Wii Us. So that's that means that it increased 875%. But Amazon doesn't actually give you the sales numbers. They keep it to themselves by, they call it, in competitive fairness or whatever. So to us, it shouldn't mean much. It doesn't mean anything.
Does Amazon even do they even sell the Wii U themselves, or do they only sell through retail partners?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because they did have an issue with Nintendo a little while ago, which basically led to them dropping like own sale of all Nintendo consoles.
I did hear
What?
of that.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Amazon does not sell Nintendo consoles.
Well, there it is. You can hear the research happening real
Yeah.
time.
I mean,
Yeah,
yep.
not through them. The first result is quick and done. Then Midol, Pop Game, Gadget Games.
Yeah, here we go.
No Amazon. Yeah, Amazon doesn't do it.
The Amazon versus Nintendo squabble about selling 3DS consoles has been dragging on for about a year.
Hmm.
And Amazon had a whole bunch of 3DSs sitting in their warehouses when it launched. And then they decided to demand a bigger wholesaler discount equal to what Walmart receives. Okay, so then they had a big, crap fest with Nintendo and chucked a hissy fit.
Well, they're both losing sales, so just get over it. Get over it, Amazon. I know you're listening.
I know, but Nintendo got over it and their sales got over it.
Yeah.
Although, actually, saying that Amazon had a hissy fit at Nintendo isn't the first one, or well, certainly isn't the latest one. That honor would probably go to EA, who has had just a hilarious couple of months, and now they've just revealed, I think last week, that they were backtracking. They'd done a backflip on their unprecedented partnership with Nintendo.
Right.
And now they will, in fact, be selling some games on Nintendo consoles, but not all games.
I like that whole media circus. I mean, it is like a spectacle that you can just sit along and just drink some rum or some scotch while you wait to see what happens next.
I mean,
And they're
it
just
was,
being clowns.
yes, and they are. And the thing that really got me about that was that it didn't happen the day before, and it didn't happen the day after. It happened the day of the Xbox reveal. And it was like 3 hours after it happened, EA had said, hey, we have some Wii U games being made. We don't have all the Wii U games being made that are coming out on other consoles, but we do have some in the works. So that was very, I don't know, man. It just kind of really screwed me up because I was sitting there thinking, well, crap, we go from no games to all of a sudden there are some games. I mean, was the reveal actually that bad? And then you go on the internet and you do see that it was that bad. But it just tripped me out that it didn't happen the day before and it didn't happen the day after. It happened the day of.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think? Do you think it's because EA saw the reaction from gamers?
If you want my honest and personal opinion about it, I think it's because EA saw the reaction and they were like, okay, we need to make sure that if we're not on the winning side, then we at least have enough damage control to where consumers will accept us on other consoles. Because on other consoles, we've been a little bit crappy to them. So if we're not on the good side, then we need to make sure at least we're somewhere that we will not just totally destroy our name, as we've obviously tried to. And, we can still pick up some sales somewhere else if the sales on the console that we've decided to back does not do that well. And that, now I may be totally wrong about that, but just looking from the outside looking in, that's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah. I think what it could have been was, they may have started an unprecedented partnership with Microsoft, had taken shots at Nintendo to drive them down, in a way to promote Microsoft, and then once the Xbox One reveal was out, they had to make sure that they hadn't quite burnt all their bridges back to Nintendo. So just left that little back door out just in case.
Yep.
Yeah,
I
that's
totally
another way
agree
to
with
look at
that.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, to me, like And I tell you what, I wouldn't have been able to, and I totally agree with Cubits on what he just said. I would not have been able to look at that. I don't think, like I said, had it happened the day before. Now, maybe not so much the day after either, but it was just weird the timing of it. You know what I'm saying? And maybe the day
Yes.
after as well. I could have said, yeah, they're definitely trying to mend some bridges. But definitely not the day before. If they would have said it the day before, then there's really no way that you could say, well, they're just in like major damage control because they know how bad the internet received the Xbox news. But the day of and the day after, it just don't look good on you.
No, they definitely didn't. I mean, I don't know. It looks bad on them. Period.
Yeah.
It looks bad, but I mean, you have to get conspiracy theorists about it for it to look bad, which still doesn't mean it's not true. But
And that's right too. And me, I'm not a big conspiracy theory kind of guy. It just looks like to me, and like I said, and this is just looks. I don't see how it could be any other way. Like that's what sucks about it because I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, and I do not like to think the worst of either companies or their practices or anything like that. Um, it just literally looks that way. I mean, it's not even like drawing conspiracies. It just looked too convenient.
hmm
Yeah, it becomes like I think things become a little more clear about their whole issues with Nintendo once the full impact of what the Xbox One was about, particularly with Microsoft's adoption of the disc tagging DRM, which Sony put out a patent for last year in September, I believe. Yeah, so we have a EA has probably take on full partnership with this one, which is why they were there in person at the Xbox reveal.
Well, now I do got one question. What games do we? I mean, EA said that they're on board. What games do we think that they're on board with before we move on?
Well, the thing is, Microsoft has is basically enforcing this tagging DRM on all their games because all the games that you buy, disc or digital, will be bound to your account.
Right.
So yeah, we'll get into the retail market
Here
a bit
in a
later.
second. But like EA did say we're making some games for the Wii U. It's not like all games. Will we be hearing about the games that they do have for the Wii U at E3? Or do we have any kind of speculation on what kind of games that they might be? Like, are we getting crap, I don't even
Well,
know. I'm trying to think
I
of
I
something.
mean, I know what you're saying, and I think first of all we have to think about which EA franchises are actually continuing because they said recently that, for example, Dead Space 3, it wasn't successful. So I think they're just gonna stop with that franchise. They might bring it to iOS, to whatever, but they're not gonna. I don't think they're gonna spend too much money on bringing any new AAA Dead Space games.
Now
And
they might,
this might be
yeah.
happening with multiple franchises. Um,
Not the sports ones though.
no,
They'll go on.
I mean, obviously they'll go on, but I mean, here's what I'm wondering: is EA gonna bring? They're saying, okay, we're gonna bring some games to Wii U. I mean, what's one of their games that they haven't made in a while? What the NBA Street? I mean, are they giving us NBA Street and they're giving us, what? What's one of their games that they haven't made in a long? Do they even make baseball? Like, do they make some kind of crap baseball game that, they're like, okay, so we're bringing to Wii U NBA Street Volume 4. We're bringing some kind of baseball. But the Xbox is going to get Mass Effect and Battlefield and, Madden and FIFA and, all these types of things. I mean, is there any idea what they're bringing? I tell you what, I'd love it if they said, hey, man, we're bringing Boom Blocks and SSX. Those would be the
Yeah.
only two that I would care about. I'd be like, oh man, EA's really giving us some great support. I may be
Yeah,
the
if I
only
get,
Wii U owner saying that, but I mean that I'd be excited about that.
I'm with you. If we get SSX and we get Need for Speed again,
Yeah,
that's all I want.
yeah.
You can keep all your Maddens, you can keep all your NBAs, you can keep everything, man. I don't care
Hmm.
about any. Like I don't care. I don't even like Battlefield. I don't care about Battlefield on
No,
for the Wii U specifically, unless it has Wiimote controls.
I mean
So
we had this thread here a while back was just asking, if EA's not on your console, does that affect you? And
mhm.
honestly, for the most part, but outside of two people, it really affected none of us.
Yeah,
Now, I understand that we're not polling the whole, universe, but I'm going to be honest. I think that those numbers hold pretty true to say, like, we had two people that were affected out of, say, 15 or 20. I would say that if you was to poll every Nintendo fan, that it literally would be probably 3 out of 10 or 4 out of 10. I don't think it even reaches half with EA.
Yeah. I would miss like the potential for what they could do on the Wii U, even with existing franchises. I mean, like Battlefield 4, if it does have like commander mode, would make the
mm,
most sense on the Wii U out of any of them.
Right.
And then you've got things like, well, Tiger Woods, obviously. I mean, Nintendo even
Yeah.
showed them how to do that on the Wii U.
Yep.
They
yeah.
threw the ball to them. So I don't. Yeah, I think it'll. I mean, ultimately, if EA, continues doing what it's doing, there's like this, this loss of potential that sucks.
And I'm not going to argue
Definitely.
that. And another thing too, now that we see what the PS4 has and the Xbox has, we're the only guys with a touchscreen on our pad. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do with that, and outside of the Wiimote and the nunchuck. Now I understand exactly what you're saying, Cubits, and I would love to see the Wiimote and nunchuck carried on. Obviously. But there's also the gamepad that nobody else has now that we've seen the other two consoles.
Hmm. Yeah, it's yeah,
There's a lot of potential,
yeah.
definitely.
And ultimately, the consumers are losing out because EA is waging a political war.
That's right.
Mm.
Hmm. But I
There's a
guess.
lot going
Oh,
on.
yeah.
I want to get a comment in, like, dude, I just hate EA so much. I can't believe they're doing this.
Yeah.
It's like I don't miss their game so much myself, but they really are screwing with a lot of people just because of some political war. And I've seen threads and I've seen arguments that they're just doing this out of self-interest, like they're really just looking out for their own profits. And I do agree with those for the most part, but I think it comes from them having a lack of vision and a lack of ambition as well. Uh, they could easily have the definitive version of their games on Wii U, and instead they skip out on the whole console because they are already working on 4 or 5 platforms, whatever. They have logical reasons to skip on the Wii U, but if they had a little more drive, they would be extremely successful on the Wii U. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what pisses me off.
No, I totally get that, and I always, whenever I hear somebody, especially the very last part of your comment, Alex, is whenever I hear somebody talk about third parties having like drive, I always think back to the GameCube because third parties, it wasn't so much a competition. They were actually, well, let me take that back. It was a competition. Third parties were actually bringing us exclusives to me that rivaled actual Nintendo games, and it was a beautiful thing. I mean, they were putting out some golden content on the GameCube, and what I'm saying, and I think that they were getting paid from it too. They were getting paid off for making, really excellent games that we were excited to play. And so I'm with you on that on EA that if they just put a little bit into it and they just said here Wii U owners, here we go, you know I mean, heck, all three of us bought Need for Speed.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah. They have this, I don't know, they seem to have this mentality of that all of their titles, like, to be successful, your title has to be a AAA title with a $30 million budget. And, like, to get the sales, I mean, that's not true for a couple of reasons. Firstly, you know, Dead Space 3 wasn't a success or whatever. I mean, that sold a bit, right? That sold a few million copies.
Yeah.
But that's not enough, apparently. And yet, Nintendo, I mean, they are a huge, like, software developer slash publisher. Their games can't cost anywhere near what the big publishers pay. Like what Grand Theft Auto 5 has apparently got like $100 million budget or some crazy crap like that. You can't tell me that anything that was ever out on the like Nintendo ever published has cost anywhere near that amount of money, and yet they'll sell what 13 million copies of a game, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, they call them what, evergreen, and to me, I think I will sacrifice. And I tell you what, I almost feel like that anybody that says other than this is kind of silly. Myself personally, I am very much satisfied with the graphics that we have right now, with the machines that are out right now. So what I say is make a great looking game and make it solid. You don't have to pour exactly like you're saying, Cubits. I mean, you don't have to pour them millions of dollars into it to make just a solid game, and a solid game will sell.
Mm.
Yeah, I think EA are a very by the numbers company. They don't seem to be risky at all. They don't seem to be very crafty or very artsy. What
No,
they
I
do
agree.
is they just look at numbers and they say, "Hey, these numbers are good. Let's make a bet," and that's it. They're a very mechanical company, and I think unfortunately that means their games are generally very safe.
Generic.
Even generic.
Yeah, I mean that's the best way to put. Now, don't get me wrong. I love some SSX. It's just
Hmm.
very zany, jumping off the side of a mountain and doing 5 million tricks. I think that's a blast. Just because
Yeah.
it's so unrealistic and arcadey, that's what I love about it. And for the most part, it seems like EA Big has always kind of pushed the envelope. Like every one of them I've played have been really, really good. But like you said, for the most part at EA, uh, as long as they can just get a game out there and it's good enough, But to me, I feel like as Nintendo gamers, we're spoiled. We know that for the most part, and I'm not saying every single Nintendo game, but for the most part, whenever we buy a Nintendo game, we know it's going to be solid. It's going to look nice, but it's going to play great. And to me, it makes me very picky as a gamer that if your game is sloppy, I promise you I'm going to know it.
Hmm.
Because I know exactly what tight gameplay should be like. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. You can have the most beautiful graphics in the world, but if your game is sloppy, then nobody will come back to it after they've beaten it. But if your game it looks good enough to pass, but your gameplay is super tight, then people will continue to play that game forever.
Yeah, like Super
And it
Metroid.
will continue to sell too because it is a super tight game.
Mm.
Hmm.
So,
Um, I think I have a good segue actually
mm,
because you were talking about evergreen titles, about how Nintendo makes games that you don't want to sell, right? They make
Right?
games that you want to keep playing forever, and that's a strategy. That's a strategy they have against used game sales. They make games that you just don't want to sell.
That's right.
Um, Microsoft
I,
is not doing this. Microsoft, EA, these people aren't doing this, except for the few multiplayer games that you have to keep playing multiplayer forever, like Battlefield or Call of Duty from Activision. Most games, let's say Dead Space 3, they are games that you want to play and you get rid of them quickly. Uh, this is something that Microsoft has an issue with now, obviously, because they don't know how to deal with it properly, so their response to it is to implement, to charge you a fee, that this new announced fee that they're gonna use on the Xbox One. They want to be able to sell you this crappy single player campaign game, or even if it's great, like Tomb Raider or whatever, they're gonna sell it to you. But their idea of it is that you play for 20 hours. Even if you bought it expecting that you were gonna be able to sell it back soon, you are not gonna be able to now. So I think that's really messed up.
I think that I super messed up is a very good way to put it compared to what's in my mind. My wording would be a little bit different. To me personally, it's extremely controlling, and I'm just going to play off what you're saying. It's extremely controlling, and to be honest with you, and I don't dig into a lot of businesses as far as America is concerned, but I don't really know any other company that does this. Like, I was thinking about that while mowing the yard today, and I was sitting there thinking, okay, I bought this mower. If I was to resell it, and it's mine already, does that mean that I have to pay Kawasaki, whose motor is on this mower? Do I have to repay them again? And do I have to repay Husqvarna, who actually made this mower? Do I have to repay them again if I sell it? I mean, I'm just trying to think about it in very basic terms. I own two 50-inch LG plasmas in my house. I own them. I bought them. They're mine. I don't owe anything on credit card or nothing. They're mine. If I resell them, do I own the component makers on the inside of my TVs for the TV that I've already bought? Do I owe LG again? Who does this? Who does this?
I mean, I've seen the argument recently that, you can't say that. I mean, they're different business models. You can't compare one to the other. It's like, I'm sorry, but the business model was created by these companies. They are the one making it so that they can nickel and dime you. The business model to you as a consumer should be the same. You buy a thing, you expect a return out of it at some point when you are done with it, and that's just how it works. Why can't I finish Tomb Raider and sell it? If it's stupid.
It is absolutely. Actually, before I get too heated on all this, I would like to hear what Cubits has to say as far as the Xbone reveal. And I know that he has a list of like what the Wii U stuff can do, and then what the Xbone can do too. So, Cubits, if you want to take it away for a minute before we really get in deep to. I mean, we're getting into it deep enough, but you know what I'm saying? Just need a little something before we really start hitting this thing hard.
Okay. All right. I do have quite a bit to say on the other subject as well, but we will come to that in just a bit.
Yes.
I guess the first thing is, what are you doing?
I'm sorry, I was unwrapping a snack.
I tell you what's funny. I thought he was talking to me because I was turning the handle of my door so I could go out my porch and take a leak. Me and Alex are taking a break while you take it over for a minute.
Okay. Well, I'll talk about the other things, non-pertaining to this, which is probably the most difficult subject of the whole reveal. Just hitting another couple of other points. They released their TV service, which sort of does split window on the same television to essentially accomplish what the Wii U can already do by playing off TV. So, you can watch sport or the news or a movie while you play a game or use Wii U chat or do whatever the hell you want to do. But the key difference here is the way that the Xbox works using an HDMI pass-through means that unless you have a set-top box, unless you have that box, for cable television or whatever, you don't get any of the features at all. All you have is essentially an Xbox.
what's a set top box? I mean, what exactly does that mean?
You know your cable box.
Yes.
That's
Like you're
what
talking about for like my dish. I have dish in my house.
Yeah, exactly. And
Oh.
America has, I think it's an 80% market share, like an 80% rate, if you will, of cable pay TV adoption, whatever you want. The rest of the world is significantly different. I think Europe has an average of about 40%, but again, there are countries which have high uptake and countries which have no uptake.
Right.
And I think in Australia at the moment it's around 30% or something. And if you don't have like pay TV, then you just use the TV, like the tuner in your TV. And TVs don't have HDMI outs, so you have nothing to plug into your Xbox.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that just, nukes all of that function. Like you get no TV functionality.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing, of course, is that to roll out a service like they have, like TV, for instance, to roll out a service like TV, it's very complex, especially in Europe, where you have like many different languages and many different TV standards and services, like all the different public free-to-air TV stuff. So it does take a lot of time to roll out. I think TV is apparently coming to Europe this year, so I mean they are chugging away at it, and they will get there eventually.
Now, whenever you're talking about TV, you're talking about TVII for the Wii U.
TVII, yeah, exactly. So yeah,
Okay.
that is rolling out. Microsoft said that they were going to look at the nuances of the different markets before they move on it. So I don't know if you're going to come to Australia, for instance. We just switched over to digital, like 100% digital television. Free-to-air TV is a huge thing here. It wouldn't be very hard to roll out a service like TVII, but it'll be pretty much impossible to roll out the Xbox service.
And the reason is because y'all's TVs are actually different.
Yeah, well, it's like you can't plug your TV into your Xbox. You can't send the picture from your TV through your Xbox.
I think that these are important. The only reason why I'm asking is because I think these are important pieces to bring up. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're thinking about this thing in Europe, if you're thinking about this thing in Australia,
Or
you
Japan.
need to know that for the most part, your TV is not going to work with this machine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're going to lose this functionality, and this is something the PS4 isn't going to lose. So, by limiting themselves to the American market, they are pretty much stepping out of the race in the rest of the world.
How does the PS4 work by comparison?
Yeah,
Well,
and
the
that's what I was
PS4
wondering too.
Well, the PS4 is just a game. It's just a regular straight-up games console. Its features are all contained within the console. You just have an HDMI out from your PS4 straight into your TV, like the Wii U, like the Xbox 360, like the PS3. It's all the same.
Now, let me ask you this,
Mhm.
just since we're on that topic, what makes the Xbone a different than a gaming console? Because you just said the PlayStation 4 is just basically a gaming console. The Wii U is a gaming console. So because the Xbone is pretty much an entertainment machine, is the reason why it will not work with TV, say in Europe and Australia, or why exactly is that reason?
Oh well, yeah. It has limited itself by its own choice of hardware. Like if you can't use the features of the Xbox, like the intrinsic features, like this HDMI out thing that it has on it, the pass through, is useless. So you basically just go, okay, the rest of the world, your Xbox One, which will cost you more than it does in the US, will work with like 60% of its features. So you're basically paying for dead weight.
And the reason why is because the ins and outs of the Xbox One and the TVs that are sold elsewhere are not basically compatible.
Yeah, there's no way to put a signal into an Xbox One unless you have pay TV. And most of the world doesn't have much pay TV.
Okay, that's what I was getting at right there. So the reason why is because pretty much everybody does not have pay TV.
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah,
All right,
the Xbox is like betting on a very American market.
Oh yeah.
Which is, to me, we'll get into that later on, but I think that's just completely ignorant. Yeah. Anyways, go ahead, Cubits. Keep on with your features.
Okay, so one curious little feature of this thing, which ties into its pay TV box functionality, is the way that it controls the cable box. You actually have to have a wire coming out of the Xbox One with a little infrared blaster, a little infrared LED on the end of it, which you then you put, well, I guess you stick it to the front of your set-top box over the receiver. So you can have this stupid little wire, like, this little serpentine wire crawling out from your Xbox onto the front of your set-top box, which is not a good look. That's not pretty.
So why?
Well, because like the Xbox will control the cable box, so
okay.
Yeah.
Basically, what you're saying is that's where you're going to be doing all your remote control stuff from, so your remote control can read it.
So you go Xbox channel 11, and it'll change the channel on your cable box to 11.
But that's because it's reading it straight out of that wire, because that's what you're actually aiming your remote at.
Well, that little wire is essentially the same as a TV remote. It's just pretending to be a TV remote. Yeah.
I'm with you.
That's awful.
That's ignorant. I didn't even know that. That's ignorant.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the Wii U gamepad functions as a universal remote with its infrared blaster built onto it. No wires needed. No fuss. No muss.
And obviously I really like that feature. I mean, and you're right. It's very simple.
Yeah.
It's all built in.
It is, and it works. Like, it works in Europe, it works in Japan, it works in Australia. It doesn't have to depend on external hardware to function.
Yeah, no, it works in America just fine. I can confirm that.
And you still have that ability to, like, for off TV play, for looking up the information about the show you're watching. Like, you can even do the Wii U chat while you're watching TV if you wanted to be that kind of person.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Go ahead with your features, Cubits, and the more you get into stuff, we'll talk more about it.
Okay.
Matt is just like loading up all his shells, all his ammo. It's just give me some more time to load up all my ammo.
Another one in the chamber.
I'm just gonna be honest with you. I like it that all this information, it literally, and Cubits is definitely the guy to, in my opinion, get the information out there. So while he's talking about it, I want to make sure that my information that I have formed is not false. Like, this is the first time, just for y'all listening out there, this is the first time I've really got to talk to Cubits about what's going on with the Xbox and what's going on with the Wii U. So I'm sitting here taking notes, trying to keep, mental track of what is going on, because I don't want to give y'all false information, and I don't want to have a bunch of assumptions that aren't correct either. Cubits is, for me, the go-to guy on stuff like this. He's very technologically, he has the know-how on it. He's done the research on it. Not to say that I haven't, but he's just a lot better at this stuff than I am. So anyways, carry on.
There was something mentioned a couple of times by Microsoft executives, and this is speculation time now, but they said things like the Xbox One will be the last console you ever need to buy. And then there was someone else saying that this generation is going to sell 1 billion consoles, but I'll ignore that completely because it is just utterly stupid.
Right.
But what we have is there was that. Remember the OnLive service, which let you play games from your iPad at max PC settings? It was a cloud-based gaming service, which is.
I was about to say Juke may, but I don't.
Okay, well, yeah,
I remember that.
Basically, imagine if you have you log into a website and then it's like looking at a YouTube video, like a high quality YouTube video of a game, and your controls, like you're sitting there with a controller or a mouse and keyboard or whatever, and your movements, like you're playing a game streamed, essentially. That's what it is. It's streaming, it's streamed gaming.
Oh, you're talking about OnLive.
OnLive, that's what I said.
My brother
Yeah.
uses it. I've never used it myself, but I've seen him use it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it doesn't seem so bad. I think the only limit to it is the bandwidth, the fact that you can't get the information as quick as possible. This is something that you're only gonna see fixed with something like Google Fiber, but we are not there yet unless you live in Kansas or Austin,
Yeah,
Texas.
on Google's network, yeah.
Mhm.
But if you have this kind of functionality in a console, it means that your console can keep up with PC graphics.
Yeah.
And this would also explain. I mean, Microsoft said that they grew their live, their what do they call it? Their stupid gold membership thing. Their massive back-end computer system has been expanded like exponentially. It's huge. And if they have their servers close enough to enough people, probably in the US, if they put servers like down the street from everyone, then you can play these streamed games with very, very low latency. And you don't. It's not so much about like bandwidth throughput, because the bandwidth required to play a game in 720p isn't any higher than, well, much higher than watching a YouTube video in 720p.
Hmm.
And everyone can do that these days. I guess like download caps and allocations are an issue. But if you have a console which will scale graphically over time, there's no need for people to buy more. And if you can hook people into your ecosystem, like Apple does, people own all this stuff on Apple hardware and can't trade out because they would lose everything, sort of thing. If they can get their hooks into people that way and then just scale the graphics up, then it could spell the end for home consoles.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't get that.
It's a pretty scary
I think
subject.
You're wrong, but I just don't I don't understand that.
Well, I mean, it's like if you have enough. Do you know of OnLive, Matt?
No, I have no idea.
Okay, so OnLive, the way it works is basically PC gaming, but someone else's PC is running the game. So, for example, you could be playing off a potato with a screen, but as long as you have enough bandwidth and you have like Google Fiber or whatever the fastest internet you have is, you can be displaying your game as good as it can be. You can be playing the latest, let's see, Metro, the latest Call of Duty, the latest Battlefield, whatever in its highest settings.
Right.
But it's actually running off of someone else's PC. It's just that it's streaming it to your potato with a screen.
That's
It is the future, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's gonna be widespread and if it's gonna take over, but it could be happening. The problem right now, however, is that the internet for most people is not fast enough for this to be a good business model for anyone. I think what Cubits is saying is that if once we get to that point, it will be good enough. Then we're no longer gonna be seeing consoles the way we are now.
So let me ask you this: so does Microsoft have that on board?
Well, Microsoft is the closest one. The thing is, the problem with OnLive itself is that it was an internet startup. It was a company startup which tried to roll out a network of these server farms to give, because the closer you are to one of these servers, the more it feels like you're playing the game on your own computer because you don't have that input lag.
Right.
Microsoft has been building for several years now, ever since it brought on its internet gaming service live. ever since it brought that on, it has been building this worldwide computer network, which is, they were going on about it at the start of their conference as well. So they have more computers closer to more people's houses dedicated to gaming than anyone else does. So if anyone can roll this out and make it work, can make this cloud gaming, this streamed gaming thing work, it is them. So yeah, they.
You think this is in any way related to the current generation? You think they're gonna do any of this with the current Xbox One?
They could do it. They could do it with the Xbox One. I mean, the thing is, you can already use OnLive on your phone and play Battlefield 3 at full res.
Yeah, so it's possible that regardless of your Xbox's, your Xbone's specifications, you're gonna be able to play the latest PC game at the highest resolution on your Xbone.
It's what
you have a good internet.
They could use it to take shots at the PS4 if its graphics end up being better.
I see. That's interesting. That's very interesting.
So that's. I mean, that's obviously that's speculation. But if anyone is in a position to do this, like in the world, they are the company who's closest to it.
We can talk about that. Like this affects Nintendo as well because Nintendo relies very much on their own hardware to innovate. They always make innovative hardware to, they make hardware for their games. I think that's how they work. They say, we have an idea for a game, so we're going to make the hardware to make it. Yeah. I think it's no coincidence that their controllers are always perfectly fitted for their major franchises like Mario.
I think that what we'll see, like I speculated this a very long time ago, but I think that the end game for console manufacturers is like a universal, like an internet essentially of gaming. So you log onto a computer, anywhere in the world, you log into gaming essentially, and then you have all of the publishers. Nintendo would be a publisher, EA, all of them have their games out there. But if you want to play the Nintendo games, you have to buy the Nintendo peripheral, essentially, like a gamepad. You buy a gamepad and that's your controller. And so the whole game, all their games are made around that kind of controller. And so they'll still be in the hardware game, but they won't be making the box that plugs into your TV, because there's no point.
Yeah, and you know what? I think this ties phenomenally to, I think, this rumor that we've sort of seen around, that Nintendo's next platform is going to be a sort of hybrid between their handhelds and consoles. I think the next Nintendo system is going to be, it's not going to be a portable like the 3DS, and it's not going to be a console like the Wii U, but it's going to be a mixture of both. It's going to be a system that you can play at your own TV or just take on your way wherever. And I mean, the fact that you can stream it makes this easier, but also gives them the opportunities to make the controller more innovative. Perhaps they can make it innovative as well as long as it's always connected to the internet, it's always going to be able to play the games, and it's always going to be able to, get the latest graphics, whatever.
Yeah.
My question is, like, how close is, I mean, how close is the rest of the world? And I mean, even myself here in Kentucky, I mean, my God, how close are we to having that kind of internet? I mean, I literally, in my house, if I didn't have internet, I barely have 3G.
I'm going to take a guess, and I'm going to say that in like 4 years, you're going to have Google Fiber in your area. Google Fiber is pretty badass. Like, you want to have it. And I think you're going to have it in 4 years. Which is a stupid guess because I don't know anything about it. But I'm just saying a guess,
Yeah, Google faces, or I guess national fiber networks in the US face a lot of roadblocks because of the way that your country is like fractured into state zones and things. It's why, like, I mean, the rest of the world was so far ahead in telecommunications, and like Europe is just covered in like 100 megabit fiber. It's crazy how fast their internet is, and their bandwidth, their allocations are massive as well. Like this cloud, the stream gaming thing could fly in Europe today. No problem.
See, I mean, like right now, I mean, I have 30 megabit fiber optic. I mean, that's what I use right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Even
good.
yeah, I mean, I mean, that's what I use right now. That's what I pay for. But it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's not Google. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you what IP I use or nothing like that. But it ain't no big brand name. I promise you that. I mean, it's you know what I'm saying, like podunk, you
Oh no,
know.
I'm sorry, but if you have optical fiber,
Yeah,
you're doing fine.
yeah,
You're doing better than like 95% of the US.
yeah. I mean, yes, I'm on fiber optic cable. Yes,
You're doing good.
yeah. So, that's why I was wondering. I mean, how close is this? Now, I don't mind going out, and I like your idea actually of like the portable and the console gaming's coming together. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just wondering like how close are we to that? Because in my mind, it seems like a long ways away. Talking to y'all who are obviously around the world, it doesn't seem like that far away.
Hmm.
It
No.
depends on. It'll depend on many factors as well. For one, we have like the presence of. I guess you have publishers like EA. They started up their Origin store because they wanted to take. They wanted to take some power and some control away from retail. Essentially, they want to curb, the piracy, the used games, and put things online. They want to go like. I bet most publishers would rather go to digital distribution so they can keep you in their ecosystems. Like when you buy games for Steam, you keep going back to Steam because all your games are on Steam. That sort of thing.
Right.
Hmm.
And so that's why EA started up the whole Origin thing. Was they pulled out of Steam and did their own thing to try and get people to migrate across. Mm. And so they'll be doing that. Then you've got I mean, this recent announcement from the Xbone reveal of the whole DRM thing, the used game fee, and then the whole trade-in scheme that requires Microsoft system to be in store. That puts massive pressure on game retailers, and you've got to think, what are the ramifications of pissing off game retailers, the people who sell your games to the public? And physical media is still way bigger than digital distribution.
Right.
Hmm. I think
So,
it's huge.
mm,
You
But
you can go on and field this one for a minute. I'll be here for a minute after we.
I know, I
You
know
go
what you
ahead.
mean because you already saw me go on about it in the Skype chat. So
Yeah,
I want to go off on that. Let me go off on that for like 3 minutes.
go ahead.
Um, I think Microsoft are trying to take away control from retailers, right? They're saying, "Oh, we're losing money on the used game sales business. This is not good for us because you guys are reselling our games and you're making money of it, but we are not seeing any of it." I think that's the entirely wrong way to look at it. I think actually what Microsoft and publishers like EA and Activision and Ubisoft should be doing is to make it easier for the customers to buy and resell their games, because these publishers have always been working, or at least recently, like past 10 years, have been working on a sort of hype machine system where their whole marketing works on this way that they say, oh, this game is gonna be amazing, you're gonna love it. We have all these features, we have all this pre-order features stuff, and if you pre-order, you can get all of this good stuff. Whatever, they have all of these things that say if you buy the game, if you pre-order the game, or if you buy it on day one, you're gonna get all these cool things. I think I've seen some links, some studies that show that these big publishers like EA, they see their biggest revenues from week one sales, basically.
That's right.
yeah.
They see their games, if they sell the most in, they see like Call of Duty, for example. I mean, Call of Duty is the most extreme example, but it sells like dozens of millions in its first week, and then
It's
it
like
stops selling.
yeah, it's like 90% of its sales are in the first like 2 weeks. It's
Yep.
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah, and then it just drops completely, and that's the way it is for most games. So the way I see it, publishers should be encouraging gamers to buy games on the, to pre-order them or to buy them on day one or on week one instead of making it harder on them. What Microsoft is doing now with the used game sales is that they're making it harder for gamers. They're telling gamers it's gonna be harder for you to resell your game after you buy it on day one. It's making gamers think twice about buying the game on day one because now they know they're probably not gonna be as successful or they're not gonna make as much money reselling it to GameStop, for example, trading it in for another game as they used to be. This is completely backwards in my opinion. The way they should do it is to make it easier or cheaper for gamers to buy into the pre-order or into the day one or the week one sale, and then for them to resell it later, because whatever, like publishers get minimal sales out of after week one sales anyway, so why not just let people resell them as well as they want, right? Think about it from the customer perspective. The customer is saying, if I buy, let's say, if I buy Tomb Raider on day one, I'm gonna buy it at $60. That's a huge investment, $60. But I'm gonna finish it in about 20 hours, 30 hours, so let's say 1 week, and then I'm gonna resell it to GameStop for $45 or $40 or whatever. That's a good investment for me because I'm only paying $20 for the game. Microsoft is making it harder for them, so that customers are now saying, well, I can't buy a $60 game if I know that I'm not going to be able to resell it for like $20, so I'm just not going to buy it at all. They're making it harder for the customer to buy into the day one or the pre-order hype machine that all of these AAA games seem to run on. And I think that's completely backwards. I think they're just going about it the completely wrong way. I think it's a mistake that they're using a used games fee. They should make it so that if you pre-order the game, it's way cheaper for you to begin with.
Yeah. I think that, yeah, and the way they have like review embargoes until, the day of as well. And how this would affect not just like people's like estimated value of a game, but on the day, say like Call of Duty comes out, you go into GameStop on day one with your last Call of Duty, and you're like, I want to trade this in to get the new Call of Duty today, and it's like right there in that interaction, they'll be like, okay, $5 off.
Yeah,
that's all I can do.
No, I mean that's what I think publishers should do. They should give customers an incentive to trade in their games, because that just gives me, for example, an opportunity to say, oh yeah, I don't mind spending $60 on the new Tomb Raider, even though I don't think it's gonna be that great, because I want to be part of the day one hype and I want to talk about it with all my contemporaries on Nintendo Enthusiast or whatever. But I also know that eventually I'm gonna sell it and I'm gonna get like at least $30 back. That is the whole reason I'm making that initial investment. Once they take that away, I think it's not worth it anymore. And they seem to think of it backwards. They seem to think that by getting a cut from retailers, they are somehow making that money back. And it's like, no, all you're doing is that you're preventing gamers from buying the game in the first place. People are just simply gonna stop buying it on day one or pre-ordering it once they know that they're not gonna get a return on it. It's bad business.
Okay, y'all ready?
Let's hear what you have to say, Matt.
Dude, I mean, I'm already, like, I'm up pacing. I'm swinging a hanger around on my finger. Like, I'm just totally agree with what's already said. And I'm going to try to keep this very, very short because I am extremely, and I'm somebody that I own a 360. If I was going to own a second console, Microsoft would have been the one that would have made me switch. Now, after I've seen the PlayStation, I've seen Microsoft's console, I'm not buying either one of them. I mean, actually, I'm kind of relieved about that I'm not just extremely blown away or impressed by what they've done. Okay, so now, so the Xbox reveal is come and gone. You're going to be charged for used games. That bothers me. It bothers me because I don't necessarily buy used games. You know, I mean, I really shouldn't, for the most part, have a dog in this fight. Though, being a businessman, and I do run a business with my cousin, there's a lot of stuff that's wrong with this. Now, it's easier for me to say that I am 100% in line with what Alex or, Jude said. Um, Another thing that goes along with it, and I was actually thinking about that today on the mower, why would they be going after the used game so hard? And I wrote about this in a Skype chat, and I'd like to kind of get y'all's opinion on it. The only reason I can see why it would bother them is because, or actually two reasons. Number one, obviously for control. They want to make sure that you're connected to the internet every 24 hours. They want to make sure that, your purchase is being monitored. I mean, if you turn around, from what I understand, and y'all can jump in anytime you want to and correct me when I'm wrong. From what I understand, from what I've read, that if you do go in, or actually, okay, let's say that you buy a used game, you come home with it, you plug it in, you have to pay another fee to play said used game. Is that correct?
No, it depends. Like, there's two ways you can do used games on the Xbox One. One is you go to a big retailer like GameStop or whoever has the Microsoft trade-in system installed, and
Right.
So someone takes their game in there and goes, "I want to trade this in." They take the disc over, throw it in their system or whatever, and Microsoft goes, "Okay, this is traded in." It gets removed from your account, so it's no longer like playable on your machine.
Okay,
And
see that now. Hold on, I'm gonna stop you right there. So basically, I take my game in that I just spent all that time beating, and I have a save file for, and it delete it. I mean, does it delete it from your save file? Like, because you are online all the time, you have absolutely no access to that game no more.
I don't know if it deletes the save file. It might keep the information, sitting in a file somewhere. It might keep it on the cloud. I don't know. But yeah, your physical game data becomes unusable. I don't know if it actually wipes it from its system for you, or if you have to do that manually. But you can't access that game again until you buy it again.
Mm-hmm.
See, okay, so all right, now let me think about where I'm at. Okay, so from that point there, then whenever said person comes in and buys that game, all right, do they
Yeah.
go home to their Xbox One? Do they have to pay a fee for buying a used game?
No, they buy the game from the store, take it home. It installs itself on the system, connects to the internet,
And
registers to
they're
your
all
account,
good.
and they're all good. The other where the fee comes in is the alternative method of selling the game essentially, which is where you own the game, you bought it at a store or whatever, you play it on your Xbox. You then take the game with you to a friend's house and go, hey, play this. You give them the disc, they install it, they have to pay full retail price,
Holy crap.
but then you both have the game.
Okay.
Because that method of doing like a hand-to-hand, like private sell, can't remove the game from your account.
Okay. See,
Hmm.
and that's what's got me about the always online. Like, why? The reason why they need it online all the time is so that those two use games, even though that it's one game, they can talk to each other, basically.
Yeah, because imagine if you had, like, say you disconnected your Xbox One from the internet, and then you went to GameStop and sold your game to them. They
Mm-hmm.
could remove it from Microsoft's back end account management could delete it, but then it would have no way of telling your console that you couldn't play the game unless it was connected.
Okay. All right, I'm with you on that. Now, here's my second part about the used games. the the biggest reason now, and I don't even know if I've seen anybody bring this up on the internet yet or not. This literally just came to me today while I was mowing my yard. Because obviously you got plenty of time whenever you're mowing a 3-hour yard. The reason why I think that used games are so under attack, it's not because of the retail, and it's not because of. I think that it's because of the reason why, and it was almost like what Jude was talking about earlier. Alex was talking about earlier, is that these publishers do not make evergreen titles. They make freaking, and I'm not saying crap titles because I buy some of them, but they they make titles that sell 90% on the front end. Okay? I think that the big reason that used games is under attack is because Microsoft can essentially, if they eliminate used games is the competition against new games. They can keep new games at the high price for as long as they want to. If you eliminate used games, then you never have to put your new games on sale, ever, if you don't want to. Now, COV, I was talking to him in Skype. He said that retail has control over when the price drop comes, because y'all know this as well as I do. And I'm just going to use Bulletstorm for example because it wasn't like a huge Microsoft game. I bought Bulletstorm pretty close to day one. I played full retail price for it because I thought that it would be that good a game. To myself personally, it was that good a game to play retail price, but it probably wasn't 2 weeks later that it dropped to, $30 or whatever, which doesn't bother me. That's fine. It is what it is. But now, if they're able to control what you're able to buy in used games, then that means that they're able to control what your price that you're going to pay for new games is, and they're going to be able to leave it up longer for that. Anybody? I mean, is there any disagreements in that, or do we want to argue about that?
No, I think that's exactly what is going to hurt them if they actually do that, because, like you said,
I agree.
People have different ways of choosing when to buy a product, right? A lot of people want to buy into it day one. They see a game and they say, "Holy crap, this game is for me. I want to buy it as soon as it comes out." So I'll just buy it, the day it comes out, I'll buy it at $60. But a lot of people as well buy the game like this, knowing that they're gonna be able to sell it back to GameStop 2 weeks later for like $45.
And I totally agree with you on that it is gonna hurt day one sales.
Yeah, because if you remove that, if you tell people that suddenly they're gonna only be selling them back for like $25, people are gonna be like, well, why am I buying it in the first place? I'm not that interested in it. People are gonna stop buying it on day one, and this would be okay, except that most of the industry actually runs on this whole day one pre-order, week one buy hype machine.
And the thing that irritates me about that, and I'm going to go back to a point that you said earlier, Alex, is that the thing that really irritates me about it is that it seems like Sony and Microsoft have no idea how to make an evergreen series. No. And I'm not here to dog them, and I'm not here to fight them, because Nintendo has a lot of games that I do not care about. But it seems like to me that this is an ignorant business model, and the reason why is because all Nintendo requires me to buy is a console and a game. After that, anything that I want to do digitally, anything that I want to do, I'm able to do, and that's my choice. It seems like to me that if I buy used games, if I buy take a game to a friend's house, they're trying to nickel and dime me because they cannot build a proper series that is worth the money, a year from now as it was from day one.
No, that's correct. I mean, that's the way I think Reiki actually Reggie Phil Same actually explained this. He said the way we work against the used games model is that we make games that people don't want to sell. It's as simple
Yeah.
as that. They don't have to worry about whether, how do they trade games, business works or whatever. They just say we just make games that people don't want to sell. That's as good as you can get. So.
And you know what? I don't necessarily know who
Mhm.
you're talking about, but I have a crap load. I'm talking about I have a cabinet full of GameCube games, and I'm talking about first and third parties. We games as well, first and third parties that I won't sell. There ain't no
Mhm.
way you could get me to take them back in there, and that's one reason why I do buy Nintendo consoles is because for the most part, it seems that myself personally, I can make a very good judgment on what's going to be a good game and what's going to be a bad game.
Mhm.
And whenever third parties is putting in the effort and I'm keeping up with it, I'm buying that game, and there's no way in crap that you could get me to sell it back.
No, and you know what? Activision works like that as well. That's why, if you buy Guitar Hero, you are still gonna
Yeah.
get support for it 2 years later. Like it's still gonna
Yep.
be getting new DLC songs, whatever. Like the same with Call of Duty. A year after it comes out, like even like months before the new Call of Duty comes out, you're still gonna be getting new Call of Duty maps. Black Ops 2 is gonna be getting new maps all the way up until Call of Duty Ghosts comes out. And that's
Unless
how
you're
they
on
make, that's how
Wii U.
they get you. And I think that's a good business model. Like yeah, it's a fun game. They keep making it yearly. Yeah, there's no innovation in it. Yeah, whatever. All the same, they're making a game that people want to buy and that people don't have a reason to sell all the way up until the new one comes out.
And you are right. I mean, I don't sell the Call of Duty games I've bought. I don't sell them. I mean, you are 100% right about that.
Yeah,
Cubit, you want to weigh in on this for a minute?
yeah. I mean, to get a segue into Qubits, Qubits still plays Black Ops 1 on the Wii because it's
Right.
just that good.
Yeah, but we didn't really get any DLC for that, did we? Or Black Ops
Ah,
2.
it was just so good that it was worth playing even without DLC.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, let's save that for another podcast. But let me just say this:
Mm.
I do agree with Cubits, and we got a lot to talk about. Anybody that's listening to this point, there's going to be more on the next one on this
Mm.
point.
We will.
So, as far as the Xbox reveal and the Wii U, I mean, God bless. I mean, we just talked about used games. I mean, another one of my things that I have a big problem with is I don't like it that my Connect number one has to be on all the time for my Xbox to even work. Now, am I wrong about that? Because that's what I've heard people talking about. Like your
No,
Connect
you're
has to
right
be
about that.
connected.
You know what else
Okay.
I've heard? This is gonna scare you, actually. Let me say
No,
something.
no, my second part of this is that the damn thing's got a camera on it and it's going to be looking into my living room all the time.
And it will. And they already said this. They said, we're not going to transmit your information that we capture from you, except, unless you say Xbox do this, Xbox do that, as long as you don't agree with this. So it's very much like Facebook, where you agree without really realizing it. And they're going to be taking all of your information, inviting your friends without you knowing about it. And let me mention something on this. If you ever play Candy Crush on Facebook and you just click yes, 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 what the game is gonna do is without your permission, without you knowing about it, it's gonna be inviting all of your friends. All of your friends are gonna be getting invites saying, Mataville just invited you to play Candy Crush. How about you join him? Even though you are not doing it yourself. So Microsoft is gonna be making use a similar system with the Xbox without your consent, they're gonna be saying
That
Matterville is
your
gonna be doing
video
this,
is good
Matterville
to
is gonna be
us.
doing all of this. Yeah, they're gonna be
You know,
finding ways to loophole to put you into a loophole so that you are agreeing to things as to what it can transmit with the information it gets from its camera about you. without
and
you specifically knowing about it.
right. And let me say this. I mean, I'm for y'all out there that don't know, I'm 33 years old. I'll be married 13 years in June. Now, I ain't down for getting freaky in the living room all the time, but maybe something happens. I definitely don't want a living room. I do not want a camera sitting there, you know what I'm saying, watching me. You know what I'm saying, do what I do.
Hmm.
And that to me is the used game thing very much bothers me because it's so much about control. But the camera thing almost trumps it or does trump it just for that reason that I have a daggone freaking camera that 100% every 24 hours has to be connected online for my Xbox to even work.
Mm. You know
That
what?
is disturbing.
Another thing which they can do with the Kinect, which was mentioned in like various ways in a couple of patents, was that okay? Imagine if you're watching. Well, first of all, state with the TV service that Microsoft is running is probably in partnership with a lot of the large networks,
Right.
and you've got to think. Apart from like making it easier, I don't know what's easier than using a television. Apart from making it slightly maybe easier to watch our shows, what is the benefit for us to agreeing to this situation? Like, where do we make money on this? And I think what it can come down to is the Kinect sensor can detect how many people are watching television on which station, whenever they
crap.
want.
Don't say stuff like that, man.
So
I'm
they're
not
gonna.
lying to you. Man, that's got me freaked out. Like, you got me freaked out right now, which I'm not buying it, but like that stuff right there literally should very much disturb people.
Yeah, they can use every Xbox One in America as like Nielsen rating as ratings boxes.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
God. That's dude, and I mean, Alex, and for y'all that don't know that out there, every now and again, I pretty much call Charles Cubits, and every now and again I'll call Alex Jug, um, so that you know that they're names that we're talking about. But that right there is freaking messed up. I mean, that's
Let
messed up.
let me we have to finish the podcast soon, so let me just get right on with it. Uh, what is
Go
your
ahead.
message to people that want to buy Kinect? I mean, the new Xbox too, the Xbox One. What do you say to these people? Let's just go at it. Just go out.
Okay,
Do it.
there's the one thing about I'm not I don't well yeah okay I don't buy used games blah 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 we'll roll that out. But
Right.
what annoys me about their used game system is their gaming system and how this is affected by their DRM essentially is that 24-hour has to be online has to check in online thing to update your account means that if you have like an internet outage or you move house and it takes a couple of weeks to hook things up, you are without you're missing on being able to play the games that you paid full purchase price for.
Yep.
And this stuff happens. It's not like it doesn't happen. I mean, EA, of all people, most recently had the SimCity fiasco, where so many people missed out on being able to play their game for weeks at a time. And then there was Diablo 3. This online DRM thing happens again and again and again, and it's going to continue to happen. Like, problems happen.
Yep.
Dude, so you just want me to roll through my problems real quick with the Xbox reveal?
Just
I'll tell you
talk
real
to a
quick.
customer. Talk to a
Yeah,
customer
if I'm
like you're
talking to a
there.
customer, I'm going to tell them, hey, your used games, you can go through and buy them, but you're going to have to pay a fee to actually play them. Number two is my Kinect camera in my living room, and that's daggone rivaling first with me. Number two is that this to me is a war on gamers, and I'm gonna use a quick analogy. If you've ever watched The Lord of the Rings, whenever you very first see Gollum, he says you're a freaking tricksy little hobbit. He said we want to kill him because they have what we want. And so anyway, so Sam and Frodo actually hold on to him. They get him cool. They start making him his guide. Through the whole movie, Sam knows that, hey man, this dude's a creep. This dude is not right, and he wants to kill us. But then Frodo kind of starts saying, hey man, this guy's all right. You know, I think that he's going to make it through and stuff like that. And at the end, this dude very much is the exact same Gollum through his very first lines in the movie that he's in the end. All he cares about is one thing. And if you're looking at Xbox like Gollum, you got to look at the ring like your wallet. All they care about is just getting into your wallet even deeper the whole time. And they will carry it all the way down to the lava of Mordor if they have to. They will fall off the cliff with your wallet in their hand, with their money in your hand as they're sinking in the lava. They do not care. That is my problem. So do not lose focus on this very first reveal, because this very first reveal, they're already backtracking into lies, and they're trying to tell you, hey man, we're cool, we're good, just like Gollum was. But they're not. They absolutely are not, because your first impression, for the most part, you're going to get exactly what they are, and that's what they are. My next thing was, I do not like it that your games have to be installed into the hard drive before they allow you to play them. And from what I've read online, your games have to be they have to be installed, they have to be online, and then Xbox says, hey man, they've done all the proper crap, let's go on and let them play the game. My last point is to grab everything together. It basically boils down to control. This console, as much as you want to be it for gamers, and whenever it comes to E3, it's absolutely going to be for gamers, because they have gotten so much bad press from the reveal. They're going to hit you with a slew of games. They're going to hit you with Halo. They're going to hit you with Gears of War. They're going to hit you with all these exclusives and these new IPs that they have. Now, one thing don't be fooled about is that whenever a new console rolls out, that they are going to push new IPs on you, which is very smart, because new IPs at the very beginning of a console means that I can have these IPs through the whole generation of a console, much like what the Wii U is going to get with Zombie U. I think that it was successful enough that they're going to continue to push that sequel on us, which is fine, because I think it was a great game. But Microsoft's going to do the exact same thing. So don't be fooled that they're just rolling out these new IPs because of you, the gamer. Remember that your very first impression was TV, entertainment, living room, and then we're going to give you some Madden and some Call of Duty. It's very much an American-made box. God, man, I don't even know. I'm going to say it. Screw it. This is what it is. It's very much an American-made box. It is not made for the Europeans and the Japanese. You're going to have to go through so much crap to get this thing to working exactly how they made it seem like it was working that good during the reveal. It's just not going to be worth it. And I do not think that this is a gaming machine that is meant to drive the industry forward. The Wii, though it was very not tech savvy, it was made for gamers, and it was made to drive the industry forward. The Xbox is very lazy to me. They have added a bunch of features in there that you didn't even ask for. And you're basically getting the same controller. All you're going to get is the same games, but prettier. And if you use your money on Xbox, basically what you're saying is, I like all this control you have over me, and I like it that you have a camera in my living room. How else more can you control me? That's how I look at it. Now, I may be totally wrong, but I pray to God that these are not, that they do not do good, and that this is not industry standard, because I'm not trying to be a fanboy here. If Nintendo did the same thing, if PlayStation did the same thing, and if Microsoft did the same thing, all in the exact same generation, I absolutely would not support any of them. And that's it.
PlayStation is
ahead,
doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not
Very
going to
much.
support them.
Sony
much,
yeah.
But is it exactly the same though?
Sony said it was down to the publish. It was up to the publishers to decide. But the fact is that if you say it's the publisher's choice, the hardware is there. The disc tag DRM is there. The online connection to check your account is there.
Let me say what I think that means. I think that means Sony doesn't want to commit to one side either way. They want to say, oh, well, that's a possibility, but we don't really know. Whereas Microsoft is saying, oh, no. Screw the consumer, screw the customer. We're just going to go ahead with this because we want control. We want complete control of everything. So I think there is a good difference between Sony and Microsoft here.
Yeah. It's a little different, but I think this way Sony gets to pass off the blame to EA.
Yeah, no, definitely. And at the same time, it gives them the opportunity to back out of it, whereas Microsoft is committing to it. Regardless of the intention, the fact is that Sony is able to back out of it, and I want them to. I want consumers to say, Sony, please cut out this bullshit, and we'll support you.
Yep.
I think that's what I want to send to consumers. That's the message that I want consumers to get, that they actually have a chance to change Sony's mind, whereas Microsoft is pretty set because, and I'm just going to go off from here on, Microsoft is building an oligopoly. They're building a system where the biggest corporations and companies are going to have the biggest opinions. They're going to have the biggest say. They're going to make the major decisions. It's going to be Microsoft. It's going to be their search, their Bing. It's going to be Fox News. It's going to be all of these big companies. They are the ones going to be making the big decisions for Microsoft. Microsoft are building a system where the big corporations are going to make a profit from. It's going to be Hollywood. It's going to be EA. It's going to be whatever else, the big money is going to be coming from Microsoft. And I think this is something that consumers should be wary from, because these guys,
absolutely,
as corporations, they're naturally, this is just what they do. They're just going to be naturally trying to wrestle control away from you so that they can get as much money as they can. My straight opinion, man, is right now, based on the information we know, don't buy the Xbox. Just don't get it. It's bad for you. It's bad for the gaming industry. It's completely backwards as far as the gaming industry goes, because people that care about the gaming industry cares about gaming advancements. This wasn't the same case with the Wii, because the Wii actually offered motion controls, which were an advancement for the industry. They were a thing that were popular during the arcade days, but were new on consoles. They brought the arcades to consoles. This was a major gaming advancement. Microsoft isn't doing anything of the sort right now. They're just basically taking control of your TV, taking control of your DVR. They're fighting your smart TV. They're basically taking control of your entire media life if you let them. So please don't. And I'm not even coming from a fanboy opinion. I don't care about Nintendo, man. I don't care about Nintendo until they publish a new Metroid Prime, until Retro comes out with a new game, until I see a new Mario. I'm not a Nintendo fanboy until I see the new badass games. So don't think of this as a fanboy opinion. I'm saying, for the good of you, don't buy Microsoft because they're trying to take control away from you. And I will say this from Google, and I will say this from Apple, if they try to do the same from you. That is my opinion. Please don't buy Microsoft right now.
I couldn't agree more, and I think that's something that Alex hit on that I didn't hit on, was it's amazing that Xbox with the Xbox One is literally taking on so many different industries. If you think about it, all right, and let's just break it down real quick, and it won't take very long. from the gaming standpoint, they're taking on the PC, Sony, and the Wii U. All right. From actually the TV part of it, everything that they announced that they could do, you can do literally almost from every smart TV. So you're taking on Sony, Samsung, LG. It's been a long time since I bought a TV, so I couldn't name you like the other major players that are in it. They're taking on Google with Bing. If you're just talking about a straight search engine, there's just so much that they're trying to control and take over. And I'll tell you something else. Just on that same point, just from a person that runs a business, I will never give another business any piece of my money, even if it's a penny. And for some god-awful reason, they paid Sony a licensing fee to use Blu-ray. To me, that just don't. To me, as just a straight business, from a gamer standpoint, it's great because you're like, heck yeah, man, I'm getting a new Blu-ray in my living room. From a business person, I'm like, my God, I just paid my competitor so much money for some kind of licensing.
Let me say.
And another thing, too, it's not backwards compatible to the 360. So none of your 360 games are going to work, and I own a 360. So why do I don't know, man. It's just to me, and I know Alex was talking about it earlier, it's a confusing machine, and there's just a lot about it that don't make no sense because it looks like to me it would try to differentiate itself, and in a way it does, but to me it's in a negative way because they are absolutely trying to take on so many different industries that, and I tell you another thing, they're trying to take on retail, they're trying to take on the consumer, and those were the two other industries I didn't mention. I mean, they're trying to take on retail from the used games industry, and they're trying to take on consumers to say, I feel like that if you buy Xbox and you're a consumer, the only bad thing about it really is if you're an uneducated consumer, this podcast will not make any sense to you. But if you're an educated consumer, then basically you're saying whenever you pay with your money, Microsoft is going to say, hey, man, look at all this money that we got rolling in. They must like to be controlled. They must not mind what we're doing with our policies. Let's see what else that we can control. And I'm afraid that later on you will actually see more and more control because you're telling them with your money that, hey, everything that you got going on right now is okay. Yeah. Nintendo, all they're asking for is you buy console and games. That's it. I like it very simple. And I'm a very simple person. I'm not a tech-minded person or nothing like this, but whenever it comes to business, I know that whenever you tell me to lay stone on your house and I do that and you pay me, you're telling me, man, you did a great job. I'm really happy with that. So if Microsoft tries to do all these controlling things, then you're basically telling them as a company, hey, man, I'm really happy with what you're doing. Keep on controlling me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like, that's just it.
I actually forgot what I was gonna say.
Go ahead, Cubits. Take it away, brother.
I wanted to say that we haven't got we need to get Cubits to finish the podcast. Yeah. Basically.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wrapping things up nicely here. We know we've got this DRM thing happening on the Xbox and the Sony. Well, at least in EA's case, and this would really answer the question to what kicked off the whole issue with EA and Nintendo. Now, all three consoles run a very similar spec of Blu-ray equivalent drive. All three consoles could have had the hardware to instill this DRM. Nintendo opted out, the other two opted in, EA blew them off, and basically, just started this whole spew shit fight thing that they had going on. Now that everything's laid out and everyone sees what's happening, EA has opened the door back to Nintendo just in case it sells well enough to justify selling games on the console even without this kind of protection. So what this comes down to is Nintendo has done right by consumers. If you buy games for Nintendo, you can do whatever you want with them. You can play them wherever you are. All you need is the system, the game. You're good. You're golden. You'll be able to resell EA games. So yeah, if you want to make the right decision in regards to this, buy Nintendo. EA will come to the party and we'll put this crap behind us.
Let me say, man, I'm glad
That's right.
you made a commitment. You made a commitment like that. That's what I wanted to get at. I wanted for each of the editors to get to a commitment that say, please don't commit to this, commit to that. And that was great.
And understand, like I said, we're not coming from a fanpoint stand of view. If Nintendo was doing this, I would sit here and say, do not buy Nintendo.
I'd be a I'd be a Sony fanboy if Nintendo was doing it.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm the exact same way. I mean, I am not telling you, you can do whatever you want to with your money. But as of right now, I mean, and Sony's kind of wishy-washy. If you had to own two, I would say it would have to be Nintendo and Sony, because Microsoft has laid out exactly what they want to do with you and your money, and how they want to treat you as a gamer.
I'm personally a PC guy. Go PC and then go Nintendo. But if Nintendo was pulling all of this crap that Microsoft wants to seem to be pulling, I would say, well, go Sony, because you're still getting a lot of first-party games that are really good. I mean, there are opportunities. I mean, the gaming industry is getting way too weird. But PC seems to me like it's always going to remain fairly pure. Basically, because you will always have all opportunities open. You will always be able to buy whatever you want on PC. But in terms of consoles, right now, I think the most controlling one, the most noxious one, the most poisonous one, hateful one, and I want to throw all of the bad words out there because I think they're important right now. All of the bad words are belonging to Microsoft right now. They're trying to take control of your equipment. They're trying to take control of your living room. They're trying to take control of your internet. Just please don't vote Microsoft. And I'm sorry if that sounds fanboyish, but it's my opinion. It's my broad industry opinion. That's what it comes down to. Microsoft is doing bad.
Yeah, I totally.
Go ahead.
I totally wouldn't disagree with that, and that's coming from somebody that has owned a Microsoft console. Like it's very.
I have an Xbox 360 as well.
Yeah, I do too. And if there was anybody this generation that was gonna change my mind, you know what I'm saying, to get another console other than a Wii U, it was gonna be Microsoft. I mean, I'm gonna go and tell you, I was nervous the day of the Microsoft reveal because I was just sitting there thinking, man, if they just unleash just something unbelievable, I mean, how do I not buy it? And that sucks because then I'm out. From my standpoint, I think about $400 at least.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah, so and since they started doing all this stuff that seems so controlling, then I was actually in a way relieved that I do not have to worry about buying another console. You know what I'm saying, this gen. And I mean, Cubit's brought up a great point. I mean, and I'll make a vow to that, and I'll tell you if I buy one. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not buying a PlayStation or a Xbox right now. Ain't nothing happening. So I thought that Cubit's brought up a great point.
Well, I guess we're pretty much done for now because it's
yes. Please finish it. Otherwise, we're always gonna be in this limbo. Please release us from our destiny.
So yeah, we'll cut this loose here. Thanks everyone for listening in. We'll see you next week. I think we're gonna do one really quickly about other interesting things which aren't nearly as depressing as this. So
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this was sad. I ain't gonna lie to you. I mean, I've looked forward to doing this podcast just because I think that we should get the word out. But then again, man, I've been like very much wrestling with doing this podcast because it deals so much with something that we love, and it deals
It's
so
very
much with
scary.
our hobby. Man, it is scary.
Yeah. No doubt. I mean, it's very scary because we are talking about a hobby. I mean, I'm the youngest one in this podcast. I'm 22 and I've been loving games for over 20 years. You guys have done this for over 25 years each. I
I've been
can't
here since a
imagine.
Coleco.
It's bad for
I've been here
me. I
since
can't imagine how
Coleco,
bad it is for you. Yeah.
yeah.
Um.
It is, man. It's it's very frightening how much control
Mhm.
is moving in,
No joke.
and I'm just hoping that people do not show with their money that this is okay to do. I'm hoping that this podcast gets out to a lot of people, and believe me, and I'm gonna go and apologize right now. I'm sorry if I offended anybody. You know what I'm saying, with the Xbox or the
Oh.
PlayStation and stuff like that. I promise you, I am sorry. If that's your console of choice, hey man, have at it. But these are just my opinions, and it's very, very disturbing what's going on.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that regardless of your opinions, man, I think you're doing a service because we've
I
been
hope
at
so.
this for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm at the point where I believe most people that listen to our podcast or that visit our website have definitely not done this for a long time. That's why we talk about the stuff we know because we are sort of an authority.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know,
yeah, don't
I
worry
mean,
about the
I don't
stuff
want
you
to offend
say.
nobody or nothing
You
like
are
that.
you are
I do want the consumer to
yeah.
absolutely know. I mean, that's why Cubits needed so many questions. You know what I'm saying? Whenever he was explaining what was going on, they need to know what is going on.
No, you're doing good, and Qubit is doing good, and this is really a service because, from our perspective, this is something we have been living on for over 20 years, 25 years, whatever you
Yep.
guys' case is, and this is definitely affecting our hobby, the hobby we love the most,
Yep.
obviously, because we spend most of our time on our website.
Yeah.
Uh, this is a huge deal. In my opinion, gaming is the future of all humanity. And I'm not going to explain that right now, but I will at some other point. But so for me, this is a huge deal. If you let Microsoft take over your life as a gamer, you're letting them take over your entire life.
Yeah, and it's a lot
So,
like whenever
go on.
control like this is taken, it's never given back. Government displays this kind of behavior all the time. You can't
Agree.
let it happen from the start.
Yep. That's
Yes, we
exact.
need
That
to
is
see.
100% QFT right there.
That is right. We need QFT for those uninitiated means quoted for truth. It comes from an older gaming message form. It means when you quote someone that is saying the truth, you say quoted for truth. QFT.
That's
Uh,
all. I mean,
I
Cubits is right.
I want to say Charles here is doing he's saying the truth.
Yep.
I mean I don't know how much to express this. This is really pressing. Everything that we know about Microsoft is really pressing. You shouldn't just commit to a console in this next generation just based on a few features you like. I mean, this is gonna be based on a lot of things. Um, it's gonna be a very ethical issue. You have to really think, and you should really think before you commit to a console because this is a very important generation.
Yep. I mean, Cubits. What else you got for some QFT?
Also, if you do buy an Xbox One, don't leave anything on top of it because it will overheat.
Oh,
How do you know that?
It has a giant fan that points up out of the case, and there's nothing like the GameCube had little ears on its side to stop you from closing it in, but this has nothing. It'll overheat.
Okay, so let me ask you this: Have you seen a breakdown of a Xbox One?
Yeah, they had it open. They took pictures of it opened up.
Okay,
Yeah, if you see the console, it's ugly as hell, and it has fans pretty much everywhere. So you have to place it on completely open places for it to not overheat.
It has the footprint of it is bigger than a 13-inch MacBook.
Yeah.
It looks like a VCR.
The way I see it, it's gonna overheat no matter where you place it. It's eventually gonna overheat. I mean, it's just obvious to me. They said already, I think they expect 25% of sales to be returns, half of which will be replacements. That tells me that they expect a 12.5% overheating chance on their Xbox consoles.
Now, let me ask you this: Who said that? Do you know?
No, it was some EA representative, and I read it sometime today or yesterday. Dude, I mean, I don't know. I don't care. Right now, my opinion is don't buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I'm saying don't buy it, but all I'm trying to get is, you know what I'm saying, as much information out there to the people.
I am saying don't buy it. I am saying that. I'm committing to it. If you wanna come back to me on emails or whatever, you can do that.
Or
but I'm telling you right now, don't buy it. And I'm expecting like an 87.5% of people who will be. I'm glad you told me that.
I'm hoping so. I mean, I'm the same way, man. I'm saying don't buy it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's very scary. I mean, and I mean, let's see, we're doing this. Let's just give people an idea. We're doing this on a Saturday night. The reveal was on Tuesday. So, I mean, that gives us time to cool off. You know what I'm saying? And I haven't cooled off yet.
And I have been talking. I mean, I have been conversing to Major Buddha on the side, and he's been very critical. He's a very harsh critic. So any stupid stuff that I've said, he's corrected. And at this point, I think I've got a pretty good opinion on the thing. Overall, please don't buy it. Just please don't. I don't have anything but my emotions to appeal to. Please don't.
Yeah, I'm the exact same. Cubits, what do you think about the design of it?
It looks like a clock radio or a VCR or a 1980s air conditioner that's had the gold trim fall off.
Oh, it looks like a Philips.
We're talking about we're talking to somebody that has a degree in industrial design, so they would actually know.
Cubits has a degree in industrial design and engineering, if I'm correct.
This console it looks terrible and it's evil. So I don't know. It's a good design language for that.
Well, I like that phrase, and it's evil.
Yeah, I mean, and it is to me as a gamer, and hearing what I've heard and reading what I've read, it's evil. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to me, it is absolute pure evil. Like tomorrow is my dad's birthday. I know I have to go to a birthday party, and me and my brother both played the heck out of Xbox 360. I haven't talked to him since the reveal. I'm literally expecting him to talk about how awesome it is and how I do not want to talk to him about it because, I mean, my cousin thinks that it's awesome, but I will go on and tell y'all this. My cousin, all he plays is Madden. He will literally, if it goes for 6 generations, he will have only 6 copies of Madden. That's it. That's all he'll play. You know, which, okay, that's fine. I'm afraid that I'm going to have the same conversation with my brother tomorrow. And, like, I don't even want to talk about it because I don't want, like, if they're excited for it and my cousin's excited for it, like, I don't want to tell him how actually evil this thing is, you know, but I don't even know what to do. Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, hey, man, I hope you enjoy it. I mean, that's literally all I feel like I can say.
Well, okay, let me just cut this short. It's been a very, very long podcast, It's been very, very complex. We all have things we still have to say, but we have to finish this.
Yes,
We've been
we
at
do.
this for over
Yes.
2 hours and 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So let's
Yeah.
just let Qubits Charles Duffield finish it.
Okay. I
Go
think
on,
I actually.
Charles.
I think I actually started this earlier, but I said, thanks for listening, everybody. Again. Yes, we'll see you in a week with some happier news. Good night for everyone. If you want to leave comments, feel free to hit up the comment section here, the forums. Like us, dislike us. I don't care either
Twitter,
way.
Facebook. There's Twitter. There's Facebook. There's all sorts of things.
Yeah,
Chat.
if you want to.
Gracious.
Yeah, if you want to get angry at us, please use any of those avenues. They're all open to you.
Please, anything you can say is gonna make our opinion more complete. So please, give us your worst.
Yeah. Help
And
us
another
out.
thing too, don't think like your opinions will go unheard. We will find out about it. We're all connected through Skype, so
They
one way or
definitely will.
another, we will find out about it.
That is right.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Good night.
Goodbye.
Remember me?